I will explain the pass by address method by writing a function to swap the values between variables. Swapping the value means if A is containing 2 and B is containing 3, after swap 3 should be stored in A and 2 should be stored in B. The easiest way to swap is first create a third variable and you store the value contained in A into this variable C. Now since this value of 2 is already saved, we can now change this 2 and store 3 in it. So what do we do is store the value 3 inside A, so 2 now is changed to 3. Now what we have to do next is take the value 2 and store it to B, so this value can now be changed to 2. So this is step 1, this is step 2, and this is step 3, and the code that we have to write to implement this is, the first line should be, first we have to store the value to C, so C is assigned the value of A. If we want to store it in C, then that should be towards the left side of the assignment operator. So wherever you are storing, that should be towards the left of the assignment operator. Step 2 is you are storing to the variable A from B. So how do we write it? To A, so to in the left of the assignment operator, A is assigned the value of B. And the third step, of course, is we are storing to B. So B is assigned the value of C. So these 3 steps will swap the values of A and B. Let's first run the current code and see what is the output. Of course, the output will be A is equal to 2 and B is equal to 3. Let us see that. So we get the output as A is equal to 2 and B is equal to 3. Now let us write the code for swapping. So we type C is assigned the value of A, and then A is assigned the value of B, and B is assigned the value of C, and let us print the values after swapping. So let us copy the printf statement, and let us also write before swap and after swap ahead of these printing, and let us run this. So we see that before swap what is printed is A is equal to 2 and B is equal to 3, and we swap the values of the variables, and then it prints after swap A value is 3 and B value is 2 as expected. Now let us write a function for swap. So what do we need to do is we have to define the function body using 2 braces, and we copy the code to swap inside the function body. Then we need to give a name for the function. So swap is the function name, and the arguments which needs to be passed are A and B. Then we need the header of the function. See that this function swap needs to just interchange the values between A and B. There is no need for a value to be returned back here. So the return type here should be void. Now to continue with the header, the function name is swap, and then we require the formal arguments A and B. When the function call is made, these 2 variables A and B will be created locally in the function swap. Also, we require a third variable C that needs to be declared inside the function swap. So int C, Now we also require a function declaration. So function declaration, we copy the header and put a semicolon at the end. Now let's run the program and see what happens. Here we get the output as first before swap, a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3. Of course it is. First a and b are created with the values 2 and 3. The line 6 then will print before swap a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3. So it does. Then the function call is made. So swap, when during the function call, the value of a will be passed to this a. So what happens is this value 2 will be passed to this a. So here it will be 2. Then same way the value of b will be passed to b. So there is 3. Now a and b contains 2 and 3. They are the copies. Now we move into the function swap. Int c, the variable c is created. Then c is assigned the value of a. So c is assigned the value of a, which is 2. Then a is assigned the value of b is the next line. A is assigned the value of b. The value of b is 3. That value will be assigned to a. So let us assign that to a as 3. The third line is b is assigned the value of c. So b should be assigned the value what is contained in c. So 2 will be stored here. So instead of 3 you have 2 there. Now the execution of the program goes back to the place where the function is called, and again you print after swap a is equal to and b is equal to. So after swap the value of a inside the function main is printed, that is 2, and this b is what is declared inside the function main, that this b, the value is 3. So that value is printed. So we used pass by value. So in pass by value the formal arguments are just copies of actual arguments, and whatever change that we make in the formal arguments is not going to change the actual arguments. Basically this swap program or swap function is not going to work using the pass by value method. Let me write that. In pass by value, formal arguments are a copy of actual arguments. Changing the formal arguments does not change actual arguments. Therefore, the swap function is not going to work in pass by value method. Now, for the swap function to work, we need to change the actual arguments. So instead of passing the values, if we pass the address, then with the address here in this function swap, we can access these actual arguments a and b and change them. So let us use the pass by address method for implementing the swap function. So pass by address. So instead of these values, we need to send addresses or pass addresses. So how do we get address? Is by changing a to ampersand a. So and a gets you the address and b gets you the address. Now when you pass the address, we need to store the address here in the formal arguments. We know a variable which can store the address, that is a pointer. So instead of a and b here, we require pointers here as formal arguments. So let me change this a to a pointer, that is star a and star b. So when the function call is made, these formal arguments which are created are not integers now, they are pointers. To denote that, let me put a star value here instead of a and b. So these are pointers a and b. So what this stores when the function call is made is the address of a and the address of b. So let me write some sample address values. So this is 4044 and let this be 4048. So when the function call is made, this address will be passed here and this address is going to be passed here. Now we can access a and b with these pointers. How do we do that? Is by dereferencing the pointer. So if we use a, it is the address here. If we use star a, we dereference the pointer and access the variable a. So let us make that change. So star a will directly access this value. Again star a, star b here. C is just an ordinary integer which is declared inside the function swap. So C is not a pointer here. So star A is actually 2 here. So 2 will be stored in C. So that is the C. So let me write that. So 2 is stored here. The next line is star B is stored in star A. So star B is actually the original B, and that is stored in star A. Star A is the original A, which means that this value 3 should be stored in A. So let us make that change. So this 2 goes and at the place you have 3. The next line is C is assigned the value of star B. C is this 2 and star B is the original B. So this 2 is going to be assigned in B. We have 2 here. So we have completed the body of the function. The header of the function is also completed. Now we need to complete the function declaration. So what do we do is, here also we require the formal arguments as pointers. This is now a working program. Let us quickly see how this program works. The program execution starts from the first line of the main function. So that creates two variables a and b with the values 2 and 3. Then it prints before swap the values of a and b, so that what will be printed is 2 and 3 again. Then the function call is made, swap. The address of a and address of b are the arguments which is going to be passed. So the address of a will be passed to the function here. So to store the address we require a formal argument as, or a pointer as a formal argument. So a is going to be, address of a is going to be stored in this address. So this address is going to be stored in the pointer a. The address of b is going to be stored in pointer b. Then the execution continues within the body of the function. So in C, so C will be created inside the function swap. Then star A is assigned to C. Star A means it's a dereference value of the pointer. So star A refers to the original location of A itself, pointed by its memory location. So star A is simply A. So star A, this 2 will be stored in C. So let me quickly write 2 here. Then the next line is star B is stored in star A. Star B is the original B, is stored in star A which is A itself. So instead of this 2, now we have 3 here. And the third line is C is assigned the value of star b, c is 2, that is going to be assigned in star b is the original b pointed by this address. So this 3 is going to be changed to 2. So finally the last line of this function swap is executed. Then the program shifts back to the place where it is called. The next line to be executed is this printf statement. After swap, a is equal to, so a is equal to 3 now and b is equal to 2 now. So the swap has worked and the program comes to an end. Let us run this program and see how does it work. So we get the result as expected. So here it prints before swap as a is 2 and 3, and after swap the value of a is 3 and a is 3 and b is 2. This method of passing the arguments is known as pass by address. So in pass by address, what we pass is the address of the actual arguments. So the actual arguments are addresses and the formal arguments are pointers to the actual arguments. Let me write that. Formal arguments are pointers to actual arguments. Therefore, any change in the formal arguments that we make by using this dereference operator, what is going to change are the actual arguments itself. Let me write that also. Changes in the formal arguments changes actual arguments. So let us conclude. There are two ways in which you can pass the arguments. One is pass by value. In pass by value, the formal arguments are a copy of actual arguments, and any change in formal arguments does not change actual arguments. The second method is pass by address. It is also known as pass by reference. In pass by address, formal arguments are pointers to actual arguments, and any change in formal arguments changes actual arguments. Hope you understood the difference between these two methods. Thank you for watching.